Support for the Lancast is provided by Winey Way Books and Pennsylvania College of Art and Design.
Welcome to the Lancast. I'm David Moulton.
And I'm Keith Slesser. Joining us this episode is Dr. Amanda Kemp, the creative mind behind the Theater of Transformation.
Dr. Kemp tells us about the evolution of the Theater for Transformation and how she had to work through her own personal prejudice of having a white director for a black historical play.
And it was, again, in that same December when we got back from California, I met this young white director. And I say he was white because it was a problem for me that he was white. And we clicked, and he was really passionate and interested in the play. And all of a sudden I was like coming face to face with, wow, could I allow a young white man to direct me, to become not just a contributor, but to be a leader of determining what does this play look like and who are the characters really. I mean, the role of the director is actually very powerful in a play with actors, but also it's a powerful relationship with the writer. So it was like getting married, and I did not intend to marry a young white man.
The Theater for Transformation currently has 2 plays that they are performing. Dr. Kemp explains some of the artistic motivation behind the stories.
We're all human. And if you actually really take on that we're all one, then there's no one of us who's so different than the rest of us. It's how am I trying to explain it? It's like we can be distinct, but we don't have to be separate. So that's what I'm messing with. That's what's going on for me when I'm creating.
Enjoy the conversation.
Amanda, welcome to the Lancast.
Thank you.
So Amanda, you started Theater for Transformation. Can you explain to us a little bit what that is?
Yes, I can explain what that is. So in 2007, I had the opportunity to perform a play in California. I was also at a spiritual retreat center, really delving into who am I really and what am I here for. And we were invited to come out and perform this play, and the cast that I had already collected to do the play was unavailable. None of those people could do it. And I had already committed to a performance. And so to follow through on that, I had to build a new cast with people based in Philadelphia as opposed to folks based here in Lancaster. And like an act of faith, really. Jump out there and say, yes, we'll do it, and yes, we can do it. Not knowing who the people were going to be and if we get along and all that kind of stuff. So Theater for Transformation is about transforming individuals and communities. So we tour plays about AfricanAmerican history that create or inspire conversations that encourage people to remember, to forgive, and to create something new. So we want to take you into the past to look at yourself. So we're taking you into a past that maybe you don't even know about or that doesn't directly involve you, but in that journey you'll see yourself and then look and see, well, what is it that I'm called to do today? Who am I? What am I here for? Like, that's the kind of questions that we want to inspire in people. And we think that leads to transformation.
That was how, when you started the Theater for Transformation,
yeah.
That was actually the beginning of it there, was when you pulled people together. That was the first?
Yes, so that would have been December 2007 is when we did our first performance, and that was in California.
What was your original inspiration behind it? I mean, what made you go out and say, this is what I want to do, and this is like what our goals are going to be?
Yeah, so I would say in around 2006, my life just went through a major upheaval. It was at that point that I decided I wanted to complete my marriage and that I wanted to stop pretending that I wasn't an artist and open up to that, and that I was really here on the planet to do something big and to stop playing it safe. So Theater for Transformation kind of occurred in that context of me looking at everything that I was doing and saying, what is it that I'm really here to do? So in that context, I felt like I'm really here to heal the planet. And how do I do that? I do that through poetry and through performance. That's what makes me, that's where the unexpected comes up for me. And to me, that's what's juicy about living. So that's what I did.
once you had set out for that, what were your first steps? I mean, you talked about bringing everybody together, but like, okay, so you've got everybody and you did the one performance. And
right.
Then how did you take it further?
Yeah, that's a great question. So once I pulled together the cast for this performance in California, that show went pretty good, pretty well. But there was a version of the script that was going to be even more demanding of us as actors, and really of me as an actor. It was going into one of the characters, Abby. The climax of the play was changing, and it would require a director to come in. Prior to me bringing in this director, whose name is Dave Ebersol, I was doing everything. I was a producer, I was acting in, I was a playwright, and to do all those roles, I had to keep the play at a certain level so that I could do that, right? But to take it to the next level of development, of depth, and of challenge, required another artistic voice. And it was, again, in that same December when we got back from California, I met this young white director. And I say he was white because it was a problem for me that he was white. And we clicked, and he was really passionate and interested in the play. And all of a sudden I was like coming face to face with, wow, could I allow a young white man to direct me, to become not just a contributor, but to be a leader of determining what does this play look like and who are the characters really. I mean, the role of the director is actually very powerful in a play with actors, but also it's a powerful relationship with the writer. So it was like getting married, and I did not intend to marry a young white man, right? So, but he was there. He was who the universe put in front of me. And so it just took me into myself, again, transformation, took me into myself to see what were my hang-ups. You know, what was I so afraid of? And what I saw were two things. I saw that I was afraid that he'd be really good and he'd be better than me. So I was afraid of having someone who's better than me. And then when I saw that, I was like, that's actually a good thing. Someone's better than me, right? Because that's how you get better, as your cohort is rising to the level of your cohort is how you grow as an artist, right? So I got over that one because that was clearly ego. But the other piece that was more painful and that required more delving was, but what is it? How can I give a white man authority over me in a play about people who were enslaved when the whole intention of the play was to give voice and to have these people be agents? And that actually took a lot more. That took a lot more inquiry and tears, actually, really, because it was scary. I was putting a lot of trust in him, not just in my personal trust, but in the people who I was bringing to life. Because the plays that I do are all about historical people, so they actually did exist, and I felt some responsibility to them and to my ancestors. So ultimately, when I took on Dave Ebersol, when we got married and, said, okay, we're going to do this thing together and you will be the director. Actually, we did it in stages. I said, you can be the co-director, because I wasn't willing really to let him be the sole director by himself. But then after a while, it was so clear to me he was the director, and it was good and he was great and everybody grew under him. Even though he was the youngest person in the ensemble, we all grew under his direction.
I think it's really interesting that you mentioned a lot of, the black and the white scenario here. And that's something that a lot of people aren't very comfortable talking about. In overcoming what was holding you back from bringing him on, did you find that maybe his involvement helps envision the transformation you're seeing in others? Absolutely.
I mean, that's the other thing about, so here's one of the things I got from my time of upheaval was that, and when I saw that I'm on a mission to heal the planet, when I saw that, I also saw that I'm part of the planet. I'm part of what needs to be healed. So the journey I went through with Dave as our director, not only helped us produce great art, but it also, because after each performance we have a talk back. We all come on stage, including Dave. So we have, one of the shows has 3 black actors and 1 white actor, and the other show is all black actors. So, but Dave always comes on stage with us, and we talk with people about what they saw and what questions that they have, and they see us interacting with each other, and And we share, honestly, things about our process that have to do with race or about conflict or discomfort, or trust. And in how we are with each other, we give people space and a sense of safety to come out with what's really there for them. So yeah, absolutely. It was critical. Bringing him on opened up a whole new space in the play where if I had brought on someone else who was not white, something else would have opened up, I'm sure, but it wouldn't have been this. So we got a specific gift when we brought Dave on.
It's interesting, you talk about even your own, how we all have prejudice and we all have preconceived ideas of what a person is like, and that you talk about your own preconceived ideas and having to work through that and get over that.
Yeah.
It's very difficult. Even myself. I get inspired by something and I want to go out and change the world. But to be part of I have to change too. I have to change with the world. Do you find in your plays, you said about making people uncomfortable but creating a safe space. Does it create a lot of conversation? Do you get a lot of feedback from the audience?
Yes.
I don't know how through letters or do people create conversation even at the event?
Yes. Yes, people create conversation at the event. So we've been asked different things, and so the talkbacks vary based on the racial composition of the group. Honestly, so if you have a predominantly black audience, the conversation, the tenor of it will tend to be a little bit more. Or what they'll say that they're getting out of the experience of having had the show come to their community is a sense of empowerment, right? And when we perform for a predominantly white audience, what people tend to get out of it is like, wow, more like enlightenment, like I didn't know, right? Because we tell the story of enslaved people who've been left out of the mainstream historical narrative. So when we talk about Benjamin Franklin, one of the pieces that we do, it's about the enslaved people in his households. And most people don't even know they're enslaved people in Philadelphia or London or Paris, right? We think it's all gone with the wind because that's what our media predominantly shows us what slavery is. So anyway, yeah, we do inspire that conversation. What's interesting is that, and it's not always pleasant. People aren't always like, we love you. Sometimes there's like a sense of, discomfort. And there'll be a pause. So I'll say, so what questions or what reactions, arose for you from this performance? And, often there's like a pause, there's like a long pause because there's been a death on stage. I mean, there's some high stakes, some things have happened. There's been an emotional journey. And since I'm a Quaker, I'm okay with silence. I'm okay letting people feel where are we? And be with their discomfort. So sometimes what will happen to break that silence, someone will say something like, the question is almost like, prove it to me. Like, what were your sources, like on Benjamin Franklin and slavery? Because people have a certain idea about Franklin. Right. And this play is going to be something totally different than anything they've ever been exposed to before. He's never on stage, but still, it disrupts people's narrative of Franklin. So there'll be something in the vein of, prove it to me. Like we were at one school where the first question from 10th graders was, are you really a doctor? And then in another audience, one of the audience members said, well, what were your sources? And the play is actually published, so you can actually look at I have a list of endnotes and works, consulted. And I tell people where I got all the information from, and they can get it too. And then I'll start to ask them, well, why is that your question? What else is there for you?
It's like a defense mechanism.
It's a little bit like that. So sometimes I'll say ask people, so what ancestor came to mind for you, during this play? Because there's a poem about ancestors. And it's been interesting. We did a play for Martin Luther King Day here in Lancaster a couple years ago, and it was a predominantly school-age kid audience, like elementary kids. And I said, so what ancestors came to mind for you guys? And one of the kids said, Adam. I said, Adam, you mean like Adam and Eve? He's like, yeah. And I was like, wow. They were saying all kinds of things. I was like, wow. So most of the people usually say grandparents or something, but they went way back.
They went as far back as they could
Genesis,
go, really.
Yes. I hadn't thought about Adam. So, but anyway, so the intent is that when we produce something on stage, is that your heart is that you're invited to drop into your heart. Yeah, it's definitely interesting information, and it is historically researched, and that's part of what the PhD brings you, right, in that content. But the invitation is to drop into your heart, because it's actually from a heart-to-heart discussion that actually people move into something that's unknown to them, and that's where there's something new can be created.
One thing I've noticed both on your website and just talking to you tonight is that the terms that you use might not be what someone referred to as politically correct.
Okay.
And, that's saying like, black instead of African American.
Uh-huh.
What are your feelings on that? I mean, obviously you're comfortable.
That's so interesting. Isn't that funny? Because I hadn't even realized that. So for me, they are interchangeable, but they have different resonances. Right. So African American to me sounds a little bit more academic and detached. And black carries with it a whole lot of emotional energy. Mm-hmm. And it could come from any direction. But it carries something. And for me, from my background, how I grew up in the time period in which I grew up, my birth certificate, I'm Negro. But for most of my life, I was black. And then I think around 88, Jesse Jackson kind of insisted we be African American. And I'm okay with that. I totally supported it. Because he was like, black doesn't have a land base. We talk about Italian Americans and Polish Americans. They have land bases. Black is like, what is that? He wanted to locate us. So I'm totally supportive of that. But I don't, relinquish the use of the term, because there's some power embedded in it.
Well, it's time to head to break, so we're going to do that. And when we come back, we're going to have more with Amanda.
On that juicy note. What is that power?
Unless you had another question.
No, I just follow up. Okay. Oh, you can go into the next.
Winding Way Books has been a major supporter of us here at the Lancast, and Melody has a great deal that we'd like to share with you.
Right now, with any purchase of $25 or more, you can get a $5 gift card from a number of different Lancaster businesses.
So make sure you take advantage of this great deal and come on down to Winding Way Books, located at 106 West Chestnut Street in Lancaster, Pennsylvania.
And we're back with the Lancast, and we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Amanda Kemp. You're going to be putting on some plays here in January 26th and 28th. The first one of those plays is Sister Friend. Can you talk a little bit about what that is?
I'd love to. So we're going to perform 2 one-acts at the Ware Center on January 26th and 28th. And the first one is Sister Friend. Sister Friend is about Phyllis Wheatley. Phyllis Wheatley was the first African American to publish a book, which she did in 1773. She's like one of the founding members of the African American canon. She's a poet. And so the play is about her relationship, her friendship with another enslaved but literate woman who lived in Newport, Rhode Island during her life. Phyllis Wheatley grew up in Boston, in Massachusetts. She was brought to Boston when she was about 7 years old from West Africa. So the play picks up it starts in West Africa and then takes us through her life. She died when she was 31.
Knowing the story, what inspired you to write this particular play?
So, I was exposed to Phyllis Wheatley when I was in college, and I thought she was despicable. I really despised her. I thought she was a sellout. I thought her poetry was kind of boring, and that she didn't really take pride in her African heritage. And even though I taught Phyllis Wheatley years later, and I was much more nuanced as an older woman by that point in my life who didn't see the world in black and white, so to speak, I still didn't really respect her. And then we did a performance of another piece, and someone in the audience said, "You excoriated Phyllis Wheatley." And I was a little defensive. And then I listened to what he said, and I saw that I had made her like a straw character, like she wasn't, her point of view wasn't really validated. So I went back to change that part of the play, but it also got me thinking about her as a person. And what I'll tell you is that Phyllis Wheatley, when she was brought up from West Africa, she was raised, she was bought by a wealthy white family. But the mistress of that household took a liking and a loving to Phyllis. Phyllis had this genius capacity for language. She just taught herself to read and to write and to speak English, and eventually they tutored her in Latin and Greek and mathematics and, astronomy. She was just this amazing genius kid. And her mistress became more and more committed to her. And, would invite people to come in and listen to Phyllis's poetry, or would send her poetry out to be published in magazines and newspapers. She was like a stage mom. She was really proud of Phyllis. And so I started to think about, wow, what an interesting relationship. And what is it like if I was 7 and I had gone through the Middle Passage, just 6 to 12-week journey over an ocean, chained, and, watching people die and people get whipped and sick. What if I had gone through that trauma and then I got here and then the person who offered me love was this mistress, was this someone who simultaneously owned me? It's a complicated position. And because I grew up in foster care, it started to ring bells with me of being incredibly vulnerable and needing the care of an adult. When in Phyllis's case, she had been kidnapped from everything she'd known. And all of a sudden I just started to really appreciate how complex her situation was, and the fact that she was publishing when she was still enslaved. And if you want to keep writing, you want to keep getting published, you want to keep getting the support of the people who own you, how outright in your criticism of slavery can you be? Do you see the constraints she was operating under? So I started to appreciate how masterful she was to still get her voice out there, to kind of stake a claim for her humanity, and maintain the support she was getting. It's a very difficult road to walk. And she did it. She did it well. And even when she wasn't being published, she kept writing. And even when she was sick, she kept writing. So then I started to appreciate her as an artist. Again, looking at my own self, to be an artist it's a path fraught with uncertainty. And people don't always want to pay you, or they don't always want to listen to you or publish you. So you have to be the one who decides, I will write today. It doesn't matter where it gets published or when I get paid for it or whatever the situation is. I'm a writer, or I'm an actor, or I'm a painter. You make that declaration. And that's something else I got from her. And she declared it, and she did it. And even when she lost her white benefactors because they died, she still wrote. And who was I to say that it was insufficient or that I would have done better? So that got me into her story, and that's why I'm a big proponent of Phyllis Wheatley today.
Seems like your whole outlook has been very shaped by trying to put yourself in somebody else's shoes.
Yes.
And trying to see it from their perspective. I see it all the time. I judge people all the time. I'm a very judging person, and then I later recant on my judgment because I think, well, I didn't see what they went through and what they've gone through. And it sounds like very much your plays are about trying to catch those judging people and get them to think about their judgment a little bit.
Absolutely. And we are the judging people.
Right.
The thing about Theater for Transformation is I want the we to be all of us, not the we and them. I really want to break down that wall. Because anything that anybody else has done or thought or felt, if I didn't do it, I may have wanted to do it, or I may have felt something similar to it, or something like that. If it's this idea that if we're human, we're all human, and if you actually really take on that we're all one, then there's no one of us who's so different than the rest of us. How am I trying to explain it? It's like we can be distinct, but we don't have to be separate. So that's what I'm messing with. That's what's going on for me when I'm creating.
Just hearing you talk about her made me think, in my mind, I wonder how many situations where a family would get a young child where it almost became like an adoption kind of a thing, at least for part of the person's life. I mean, I don't know if that was, I mean, you might know better than I, if that was a common thing that would happen.
No.
Yeah.
That level of, when I say ownership, that level of claiming of a slave child and cultivating and protecting and promoting, unusual. Now, part of me thought, well, did she just have Phyllis, this is Susanna, her mistress, was she just like Phyllis is my crazy, talking dog, so, but Phyllis, so part of me wondered if she even though she loved her, did she really love her, or was it more like she's just my little freak show? But in one of Phyllis's letters, after her mistress died, she wrote to her friend, Obertanner, who the play's about too, and she said, imagine the loss of a parent, a sister, a brother, all of this in one. That's what I lost when this woman died. So for Phyllis, she didn't feel like she was being exploited or, I mean, she lost something very, very close and tender to her. And when you think about the fact that when she came to Boston, she had lost everything. And then she had this crazy loss again when she lost this mistress who was like everything to her protection and her source. I think it takes an amazing person to live through that and to keep writing.
Well, not only do you write these plays and act in them and started off directing them and organized them, but
Thank God I don't direct them anymore.
But you also wrote music for them.
Yes.
Singing and such. And we're going to play Are You Ready, which is the first song from Sister Friend.
Wonderful, and I should tell you about the music. So I wrote the poem. Are You Ready? The music was written by the two women, fabulous vocalists, by the way. One is a tenor, a female tenor. She's got the deep range, and first soprano, like really high range. Those two women got together and they created the music for Are You Ready? The opening of the play, which is also the opening track on the CD you have.
Great. Now. I understand this is more of a sadder, somber kind of song, and of course you were writing about Wheatley. So,
yeah.
Was that difficult for you to write?
So in each play that I write, there's a poem that's like the medicine of the play, and that's the piece of it that has the healing power. So there's a story, there's a drama, there's conflict, there's all the stuff you'd expect in a play, and within that there's the medicine, there's the poem. And it comes at a different point in each play, right? So in Sister Friend, it comes at the very beginning with Are You Ready? Please get ready. The song I have for you to hear. The introductory song is it's an invitation. And when I wrote it actually with kids in mind. So there's a lot of repetition, because I wanted them to say, "Are you ready?" And when we did it for kids who were like 5 and 6 and 7, they said, "Yes!" They let us know they were ready. Because when you work with young kids, you tell them, "Are you ready? Get ready," and please get ready. So the song is, "Are you ready? Please get ready for the tale that I have for you to hear. Please get ready." About 2 little girls without parents near. So I'm trying to get you to get into in their shoes, to get in their space. And if you're not a kid, but you're a parent, or you're an older brother, or whoever you are as an adult, imagine 2 little kids, 2 little girls without parents near. And then the poem takes you through the journey they went on the middle passage. So it flowed, actually. It flowed really easily. And when the music was put to it by the 2 ladies who are featured on the cut, they created that, in one session. They basically had the music down. And then they came to me with the music while I was away, and they sang it to me on the telephone. And I was really put off because I was like, oh, I didn't really want music for that poem. But the director, Dave, thought it would be a good idea. And after I gave up the fact that I didn't ask for music, after I gave up that and I listened to it and I thought about who the audience is, music is such an invitation. It's a powerful invitation. And then I loved it. So that's the story with that opening.
Well, without further ado, here's Are You Ready?
Are you ready? Please get ready.
I tell a tale that's not pretty, but real.
Are you ready? Please get ready. I bring you tidings from letters without seal. Phyllis Wheatley, a slave celebrity in her time. Oh, Bert Tanner, her fellow slave in a friendship sublime. Are you ready? Please get ready.
I tell a tale not pretty, but real.
Are you ready? Please get ready. I bring you tidings from letters without seal. Get ready. 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 Get
Two
ready.
little girls, friends
ready.
fast,
Get
met
ready.
some say on a ship
ready.
from Africa last.
ready.
Not a ferry that goes to and fro. Not a cruise ship where the lucky may go, but a slave ship with Africans packed, head to foot, chained leg to leg, the sick beside the dying beside the dead.
Get ready.
Are you ready?
Little ones and medium ones, black ones and brown ones, pink ones and tan ones, frail ones and sound ones, little ones and medium ones, black ones and brown ones, pink ones and tan ones, frail ones and sound ones. Please get ready. The tale I tell for you to hear. Please get ready. Of two little girls without parents near. Please get ready. The tale I tell for you to hear. Please get ready. Of two little girls without parents near. Please get ready. Phyllis Wheatley, a slave celebrity in her time. Oh, Bert Tanner, her fellow slave in a friendship sublime.
You.
Gather round.
So, Amanda, the second play you wrote is Show Me the Franklins. What is this play about?
So this play is about the enslaved people in Benjamin Franklin's households when he lived in Philly, London, and Paris. So it's about people that he owned, and in the case of one woman in Paris, about someone who he had the capacity to have arrested or freed after she had run away from her American owners.
Similar to what I asked with the first play, but what was it about this story that made you want to write it?
It's a great question. At first, I just wanted people to know that Benjamin Franklin had enslaved people, that he owned people who were enslaved. And then when people walked away with that, I was like, I feel so... That's just not quite the point. Yes, I do want you to know that, but there's something missing here. And that's when the medicine for this play came. It was a poem, and it's called The Ancestors Poem, because I prayed, because I was really frustrated. I felt like this was still kind of superficial. It was still mental. It was still a great kind of enhanced lecture, but it wasn't really a great play yet. You know, and it hadn't cost enough yet. And you'll know what I mean when you see something great on stage. It's cost somebody something. You know, it's not just easy. So the poem was, that came to me in answer to this prayer that I sent up about this play started off like this. You know the ancestors are calling you. You know the ancestors are calling you. They say, remember me. They say, forgive me. They say, I forgive you. And so when that came, and there's more to it, and if you come to play, you'll hear the whole thing. So when that came, I realized the piece wasn't just about, oh, they're enslaved people and he helped to enslave them. But it was really like we're being called and we're not listening. And also that when they call us, that they're asking for our forgiveness, and they're extending forgiveness to us already.
Well, we're just about out of time. Before we go, of course, we want to know how people can get in touch with you if they want to learn more about you, or say maybe they listen to this after the plays have taken part in Lancaster at the end of January here. How can they do that?
You can find us on the web at www.theatrefortransformation.org. And we're spelt theater the British way, THEATRE, for transformation.org. We have the Show Me the Franklins is available via DVD. This is the final performance here in Lancaster. This will be the last time we do this play. We're putting it to bed. It's been on tour for 4 years. This is it. Sister Friend, the play about Phyllis Wheatley, will be touring this year. We'll also, besides being in Lancaster on the 26th and the 28th, we'll be in Reading on February the 8th. We'll be in Boston February 10th through 12th. And we'll probably be at F&M on February the 20th. So there'll be some other opportunities to catch that. But you can also get the DVD from our website.
Well, Amanda, thank you for being on the show. It was a pleasure.
Thank you for having me.
We hope you've been enjoying the Lancast.
This episode was produced by myself, David Moulton, with show notes by Keith and Lauren Slesser.
All pertinent links to this episode can be found in the show notes at thelancast.com.
If you specifically liked this episode, we ask that you consider making a donation.
Every little bit helps. Even $1 a show can keep us going.
If you'd like to help support us, you can do so by going to thelancast.com/donate.
And don't forget to subscribe in iTunes and tell a friend about the show.
So for the Lancast, I'm David Moulton.
And I'm Keith Slesser.
Asking, are you in the cast?